In this video, you're going to be taking a look at Boba Fett for the Black Series 6-inch line, an original from all the way back in 2013. This was the very first single-carded release of him, and I did get this back in 2013. It was I actually found this at retail, and it was just the luck of the draw. At the time, he was an extremely rare Black Series action figure, and everyone was going all over the place trying to find this guy, and actually found him at a store that's unfortunately out of business now. But it was a place that would get Star Wars action figures in every now and then, and it was a place that people wouldn't look, so it was a good place to find some rare ones. But even though this is the first single card release of him, this is actually the second release overall. He was I'm pretty sure he's the very first Black Series action figure that was made, and it came with the Han Solo and Carbonite as well. That one the Han and Carbonite block did eventually get its own release in the Black Series several years later. I think this may have been in 2018 or 19, somewhere in that range. So all the parts from that original San Diego Comic-Con set were eventually released on their own. But as far as I know, this Boba Fett's just a straight repack of that. Maybe it's slightly repainted, ever so slightly, but same action figure. So he's been in my collection for 11 years now at this point, and I cherish him greatly. I still hold this up as basically the best Boba Fett that Hasbro has made for the Black Series to date. We did give the Return of the Jedi one, which I will show off here in a little bit. And that's a nice action figure as well. It's much more nimble, but unfortunately, for whatever reason, Hasbro messed up on the packaging of it, and it kind of squished his helmet. This one does not have that problem at all. And he doesn't have the head underneath the helmet at all. It's just totally hollowed out. Similar to Darth Maul I reviewed previously, we were kind of led to believe at the beginning of the Black Series line this was supposed to be the end-all to be-all definitive versions of these characters. And I think Boba Fett here is no exception. Pretty much has all the accessories he needs. And he has a lot of nice detailing on him. And of course, over the years, he's had his share of repacks. But between 2013 and 16 or 17 or 18, this Boba Fett was highly sought after, but he's gotten so many repacks since then that people just kind of look at this one and they're like, yeah, whatever. So the helmet sculpt is spot on. Has a lot of that carbon scoring on it, I think. It does have that gash in the helmet there, which has a nice silver color on it. It does have the antenna, which is not movable at all. And I think that's okay, because sometimes, especially on the Return of the Jedi Boba Fett, with that movable rangefinder, oftentimes it gets it's very loose and then it gets bent in the package. So the fact it's just a solid piece, part of the helmet, I think is better. Just the rest of his Mandalorian armor here. It does continue the trend with all that weathering and the carbon scoring. Looks really good. It does have the Wookiee braid here, which is a sturdy accessory around his arm there. Does have his pouches up front here, which is specific to Empire Strikes Back. And the weathering continues on his pants here. Of course, on his arms, does have the Mandalorian logo there. Does have that nice gauntlet. There's no accessories for the gauntlet, but I don't think he really needs it anyway. You get him in some nice poses with that. Same with this one. He does have the all-green jetpack, which I think is specific to Empire. Then he does have his cape here, which does a pretty good job of staying out of the way. Oftentimes Boba Fett's cape gets in the way, or it doesn't want to flow right. I think it's pretty good with this. It is pretty lengthy though. It's almost down to his feet, which I don't think is totally accurate. I think it is a little bit shorter, but that's okay. And mine's folded up. It is frayed at the end. That's the way it's supposed to be. So in terms of his articulation, he does have the ball joint at the head, then hinged shoulders and elbows. Do go about 90 degrees even with the gauntlet. Does have the hinged wrist, joint torso, hinged hips, swivel thigh, double hinge at the knees, which is very subtle on this action figure. Even with the pins, it's not too noticeable. He does have the rock wrinkles, and this guy does stand really good on his own. I've never really had any problems. I don't think he's ever fallen over on me. In terms of his weapons and accessories, he does have his signature rifle here, which is kind of tricky to fit around his hand there, as you can see, because he has this guard here, and you gotta work with it a little bit. I think the way I did it is I had to put it on upside down and then rotate it around to be able to get in this position. So I'm not going to take it out of his hand there because of how tricky it is. But it does have some nice detailing. It does have that carbon look to it, especially the further down the barrel you get. He holds it nicely in his hand. That stalk there has some nice detailing. I think, yeah, it continues on this side as well. He does have his pistol here with the holster. And it fits, even though it fits kind of loosely in that holster, it stays into place pretty good. And you can fit the pistol pretty securely in his hand, both hands at that. It's pretty good. Then his jetpack here is removable, and that stays into place nicely as well. And they even did the latches here to kind of simulate like it's holding his jetpack. And then these grooves here, I think, pretty much go along with it. It's very nice. You see a little bit more of his belt. Stays in place pretty good. Nothing where you can simulate the jets though. That's all right. Empire Strikes Back, we never saw Boba Fett use his jetpack anyway, so no problem. Does have that symbol here as well. So we'll bring out the Return of the Jedi Boba Fett real quick. I will do his own video at some point. So you can see, very nice Boba Fett as well. A lot of people do consider it the definitive version. This was the beginning of the deluxe line of action figures, and he is loaded with accessories, but I don't think it was anything to charge $30 out of. This guy here was only $19.99 at the time. So you can kind of see that squished helmet. I can't really do a lot about it. I've tried to pry it open on the sides a little bit, but it's just so hard to really get that to mold back into place. Here's why I was talking about with the rangefinder as well. It's very bent. It's probably better that it's not really mobile at all. But they look really good together. Like I said, this guy is much more nimble compared to his Empire Strikes Back counterpart. But I think between two action figures, I definitely prefer the first version here. Still remains one of my favorite Black Series action figures in general. Probably display them in my collection alongside my other bounty hunters. And if you don't have this guy in your collection, I would recommend tracking him down. Even if you have the Return of the Jedi Boba Fett, this is still a unique enough one where I think it warrants having one in your collection. Had this guy 11 years now, one of my very first Black Series action figures at the very beginning of the Black Series line, and I cherish him greatly. But anyways, that concludes this review. I hope you enjoyed it. Stay tuned for plenty more in the future. There will always be more to come. If you haven't already, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. I always appreciate all your support, and check out the links in the description if you have not done so already. As always, thanks for watching.